Hey, so today I wanted to share an experience that I had with a salesman. I've done business with this company before, and it was a little unexpected, but they had a salesman call me on a Saturday, which is pretty uncommon. I don't usually get sales calls from them. I've talked to a couple of people from their company, and he called me and was asking me about my experience with what I'd bought and how things were going. And he was wondering what they could improve and asking all these questions. And I shared with him some of the limitations I thought that I saw in their product and their offering. And I had what I thought was a pretty good conversation with him. And he then started to turn the conversation and said, "Hey, I think I may be able to help you out with some of the things that you've been a little dissatisfied with, but I've got to check with my team." And to me, that was a little bit of a red flag that this wasn't a customer support call, but actually a sales call. But I was like, that's fine, whatever. And so he says, "Can we get on a call later and I can go over a few things after I talk with my team and see what we can do?" Sure, that's fine, but I didn't want to do it on Saturday or Sunday, which was what he's pushing for. So we end up scheduling it for Monday. We jump on the Zoom call and we start talking, and he's got asking me all these in-depth questions, and all of his questions had transitioned from what their company might be able to do better to questions about what I'm trying to accomplish in life and how I'm going to improve. And I'm thinking to myself, we already had a pretty good conversation the other day. So what's the point? Well, the point was he was asking a number of leading questions in the hopes of flipping my brain from being able to think intellectually to being in an emotional state. And all of his questions were designed to push me into an emotional state first, and then once I was in that emotional state, to be easily led from where my mental state is to a mental state where I'd be willing to buy his next product that he's trying to sell. And so I'm no stranger to sales techniques and marketing and advertising, so I could kind of see through what he was doing. And I wasn't ready to buy what he wanted to sell me, but the thing that really irritated me is on the call on Saturday, I specifically asked him right at the end of the call, I said, "So the next meeting that we're having, are you just going to pitch and sell me on this one product?" Because I was aware of a product and I told him that I was interested in it, but not interested until October. And his reply, "Well, we'll talk about that, but there's a lot of other things that we could probably do to help you out as well." And so I was excited to learn about these other things. I'd never heard about anything else that they had that could potentially help solve some of the things that I have going on. And so take the call. He flat out lied to me on Saturday, told me that he had some other things that he needed to talk about with his team to find out. Well, it turns out all he was selling me was the one product that I already knew about, that I had already told him I wasn't in a position to buy. But he just insisted on leading me through this whole minefield of questions, and none of the answers I gave were what he was looking for. And it wasn't that I was trying to be cagey. It was that my position, where I'm at right now, put me in a spot where had I bought, it would actually put me further behind in business instead of putting me further ahead. And so it was not the right time. He spent probably an hour with me trying to navigate to get me to the spot where I would be willing to put down, be willing to buy their $25,000 product. And I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't matter because it won't benefit me. But I wanted to tell this story and explain a little bit about this, because if you're in business, there's going to be people that think that their product will solve your problem. And if they can get you so that you transition from a mental state where you're able to analyze and think clearly into an emotional state where you're just feeling emotions, it's very easy for some people to manipulate emotions to get you to do what they want. And if people know how to manipulate emotions, they can get you to buy things that won't actually benefit you, but it's going to benefit them. So I'm going to now pull the curtain back a little bit on some of the techniques for you. So one of the things is they're going to tell you need to think about what it will be like when you have accomplished what you want. And they want you to get into a mental state where you're picturing that. You can see the success. You can feel the difference that it made for you. That's one of the big ones, because once they've got you in that state, you feel like you've already succeeded. And oftentimes they'll pair that up with, can you imagine what it will be like when how much money are you going to make? And then you'll tell them some radical number. And then they'll say, well, now picture that. What would that be like when you have that much money every single month, or that much money in the bank account? Can you feel that? Would it matter if you wanted to go buy something? And do you see what just happened? They took you on this very quick journey from being in a state where you're excited about accomplishing your goals to now having more money than you actually do in your mind. And as soon as you have more money than you do in your mind, and you realize that it doesn't matter if you spend money anymore, they're going to hit you with this idea that you can now spend money, so why not buy what they're offering? Because what they're offering is going to get you to the state that it doesn't matter if you spend money anymore. So you see that subtle twist that they'll do to your brain. So the part of your brain that's normally there to keep you from overspending money, because maybe you budget and you already know all those things, they are shutting that piece off by putting you into a state where your brain thinks that it doesn't need to be cautious about money anymore. That's just one of the tricks. Another one of the tricks is going to be, can you imagine the impact you're going to have on others' lives? Think about that. Think about how much you're going to help the world. And then they'll guilt you. And they'll be like, do you think this product that we're selling is going to help you be able to get to where you're helping other people? So why wouldn't you buy something that's going to help you help others? That's really selfish. And you're like, wait a minute. That's the kind of logic that they're going to draw on you. But if you just take a moment to step back, their product's probably not going to solve those problems on their own. It can help, but it's not going to solve it. And it's not selfish to be cautious with what money you do have. So again, another sneaky way that they'll twist your brain a little bit to try and get you to buy something when it's not in your best interest. Hey, I hope this helps. And if you've ever heard some techniques that the high pressure salespeople will put on you, I'd love it if you'd share it in the comments so we can expose all of those sneaky little tricks that the high pressure people put on you.